Welcome to our MOTS webinar, and it is our EDI focused one, and it happens to be on this day, so may the 4th be with all of you today. We have a nice fun agenda. We have the welcome. Justin's going to talk about some reports and data requests, Jody about email, secure email, Lyle about CMS codes, and then Justin with Oregon driver's license, and also a little bit about old facility closures. I have some updates on Compass as our whole team, and Jody will do her spiel on switching systems, because that's one thing that keeps coming and coming. And of course, we'll always end with the questions and answers. For those of you not very familiar with the format, we do record it. So for those of you who are pulled away by some phone call or some emergency that comes up, it's usually on the web in a few days, and you can finish the parts that you might have missed, or maybe you think it might be helpful or interesting for some coworkers or other people in your organization to review certain bits and pieces. Then you can point them out to our website, and they can review and catch up on the stuff that they might have missed, and that might be important to them. So, okay, if you have any questions, there is a box on the little panel that popped out when you joined, and you can just type in your questions, and myself and my coworkers, hopefully we can kind of answer the questions while we are going on with our presentation. And if it might be, if it's a question that I thought that we think maybe everybody else should hear it, or what has been discussed, then we bring it to the floor and we might talk about it a little longer. So, okay, let's go to agenda item number 1. Welcome. The purpose of the webinar. Well, it's not very new, but why do we do this once a month, every first Wednesday of the month from 9 to 10, to give you information. If there are any changes, if there's any enhancements. Currently, we're still in a freeze of the system, so there is not much changing, but we always leave room for things might happen, and federal or state requirements might change, and things might happen. So one of the things that we really like to do is discuss data issues. Try to bring things to your attention to make sure that we get the best quality in our MOT system. Get your feedback. This is also a very helpful forum for you to kind of talk about the things that you might want to talk. And maybe you come up with an idea that in the future webinars, we make it an actual topic and we dive deeper into the matter. So that's always one of the things that we recommend and we'd like to ask from you. And hopefully we can answer all the questions you might have. So let's get going. And if I can find my mouse, there it is. Then I go back to the agenda and I'll give the microphone to Justin. Go ahead, Justin.
Thanks, Pete. Now, we know that you folks submitting by EDI, you've got your electronic health record systems, and you've probably got some good reporting tools to get your data out of there. But we also want to let you know that even though you're sending data to us all the time, we are willing to give some of that data back to you if you need it. And we're trying to make that a little easier than it used to be. If you need a data extract out of MOTS or a report of some kind, and you'd like to send us a request, a very easy way to do that is to head to our webpage with the URL that appears on your screen, or go to your favorite search engine and just type in oregon.gov MOTS, and you'll land somewhere near here. Come to this data requests and corrections page, open the reports banner, and click on that MOTS report or data extract request. When you do, you'll be taken to a form that we've got an image of on the next slide. And that form will walk you through a series of questions, and these are branching questions. So if you answer yes to one, it'll go with a different set than if you'd answered no. But the idea is that if you fill this out, we'll get the information that we need in order to give you the report that you need without having to do a whole bunch of back and forth and asking for clarification type things. Now, for example, this would be, you get the active client list once a month, and that's good enough. But maybe you also want to know which clients were closed in the past 2 weeks. You could put in a report request for that. Or maybe you want some statistical information. How many clients aged 18 to 25 had alcohol as their primary substance and were admitted in 2020? You could put in a request for that. Any data that you submit to MOTS can be queried, and I can make a report from it. And this is a great way to do it. I see a question from Tom. Does the online portal require a P number or other login? If you were making changes in the MOTS client entry web portal, yes. But in this case, for our website and for this form, no.
Cool. Excellent. Thanks, Justin. That answered Tom's question. Cool. Jody, secure email systems.
Yeah, thank you, Pete. Good morning, everybody. We've had, with COVID and remote working and sharing data and all of the different things we've been going through currently and well into the past, secure email systems are a thing that we definitely are familiar with and we all got to work with. But we just thought we'd kind of review some of it, some basics of it, because we do have, at times, some things are coming in through secure that are maybe not necessarily not needed, but just wanted to kind of go over what it is. So what requires an encrypted email? Anything that has protected health information or personal identifying information. If we're sending reports to providers, those come encrypted. You'll see those from a special email address. If you send us information, the attachments with the PII or PHI, such as MOTS data corrections, would be sent encrypted. And what the other thing is typically when in doubt, encrypt. That's what we say. And so the types of secure encrypted email services that we have is that at the state here, we used to have Proofpoint, and it's one that we no longer use. And currently, our official email service is Microsoft Office 365. And so when we did the change, I think it was probably, at least probably 6 months ago at this rate. So anyways, that's our current one. It's Office 365. So still, it's in our Microsoft suite of products that kind of work well with the other applications and remote tools that we've gotten now, such as Teams and stuff. So what we have noticed is that providers, have different encrypted email services. Some of those that we've seen are Barracuda, Virtue, Proofpoint, and there are many others. So we know there's other email secure services out there that different organizations use. So just kind of wanted to highlight some of those. Pete, could you run to the next slide for me? Okay, so some of the issues that we, the reason why we kind of want to cover this is we have issues when we get some of these emails, or maybe sometimes when we send them, but that we're not able to log in to your particular secure email service or your encrypted system. We're sometimes not able to open all attachments, even if we can log in. And sometimes emails through Proofpoint, due to us using it before and a few other aspects that we're not, that seem to be impacting us, they'll end up in the MOTS support junk email. So if you've sent us an email and you haven't heard back from us in a reasonable amount of time, definitely get a hold of us, because that's, we're usually pretty responsive. So anyways, some provider emails get blocked altogether when they're coming from your secure systems, and so it's kind of a challenge to get all of these systems in alignment and whatnot. One of the things for us at MOTS support, especially, is when you send an encrypted email to MOTS support, that kind of becomes the login for your system, and we try to get logged in, and we have to use the different people have to try and access it, and so sometimes it takes us a little bit more time to actually try and get something opened up fully. You may see at times I'll send back an email that's like, hey, I just can't get quite this open. Here's our secure. Would you reply back to me with this one? So our recommendations is, if you don't send emails secure that don't need to be. I mean, if you're just asking for what are the time frames or for submitting data or different things like that, it doesn't have to be secure. I do know that sometimes I think our systems will automatically secure stuff when it thinks that maybe it should be. If you are needing to send an attachment, you can always contact MOT support through regular email and ask for a secure email that you can reply to. But we do know that actually some organizations still don't have their own encrypted to like what we do. So again, you can send an email to MOT support or to whoever it is you're working with, typically MOT support or myself, and ask for a secure email link, and we'll be happy to send one back to you. And again, if you have sent us a secure email and you haven't heard back in like a week, please send us an unsecure email to let us know, because since then we've been regularly checking the junk folders, but in case it's one of those that got blocked altogether, it's just reach back out and be like, hey, what's going on? Because it's really unlike us to take that long to get back to somebody. So I think with that, Pete, that kind of covers everything I wanted to go over there.
That was excellent, Jody. Very thorough and very helpful. And we also have our phones still. We should all have a work phone at home, and you can text that and maybe try to calling that. It doesn't happen that often, but if things are not working properly, there's all kinds of different ways to help you out. So, okay, then we go back to the agenda, and item number 4 is Lyle, CMS Codes Updates. Go ahead, Lyle.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to talk about the fact that we've had more CMS code changes in the last year than we've had in a very long time. So sometimes your EDI will bounce back and it will give you an error message. And we wanted to let you know, as soon as that happens, just make sure you contact MOT support. I'm working with the new system admin, Kayla, and we're getting those updated as quickly as we can. We try to be same day and then get back to you so you can resubmit your files. And we do update these on a regular basis. It's just CMS is has had more times in the last year where they've updated mid-year, and we tend to do our update annually when they release their new CMS codes. So if you get any of these errors, just send them to us. We'll validate that the procedure code is not in there. We'll get it added, and then when you resubmit, there should not be any errors.
Excellent. Thanks, Lyle. And this is what it looks like in a return file, right?
Yeah,
Cool.
that's pretty much a snippet of part of the error message. So for most folks, this is going to be in your results file that you're retrieving, that you may see this for your service file. For those of you that have systems that bring this information back into and integrate it into the system into some kind of a table or MOTS area, you would see this in that section where it tells you what needs to be fixed and then resent. So, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Okay, then we go back to Justin. Oregon driver's license format. Things are changing.
Yeah, things have changed a little bit. So most of you know the Oregon driver's license is required in MOTS for any client who has a DUII legal status. We do accept placeholders in that field, but please only use that until you can obtain the driver's license number. And of course, if the person doesn't have an Oregon driver's license, you can also use their Oregon ID or you can contact DMV and ask for the reference number. They all work in exactly the same way. In the past, an Oregon driver's license was 1 to 7 numeric characters with an optional leading 0. You can see some examples on your screen. Those with the green arrow are valid, and those with the red X were not valid. A few years ago, they changed because they ran out of numbers and allowed it an A as the first character. All the others had to be numeric, and they were locked at 7 characters. So something like that A000503 would be allowed, but the others would not. We have been informed of a relatively recent change sometime during the pandemic, I don't know exactly when, that the first character of an Oregon driver's license or ID can now be any letter. The rules are still that the remaining 6 characters must be digits, and the length must be 7. But for those of you who are entering Oregon driver's license for your GUII clients, this is the format. First character could be a letter. Everything else is a number, 7 characters long.
Maximum.
Yep.
Cool. Excellent. That's good to know. I did not know that. Thanks, Justin. Okay, then you have another item on the agenda, and that is closures of old facilities.
Yeah, we understand that occasionally facilities change, sometimes just when you're changing EHRs or other records, and it's not always easy to get those clients closed. And I'd like to walk through this flow chart to give you an idea of how to get that done, because we don't want to leave a whole bunch of client records open in a facility record that's no longer being used. Well, starting with the yellow diamond in the corner there, the first question is, can the old facility submit closure data for your open clients? If so, please generate a file from your system that closes those active clients in the now closed facility, and we'll make sure that gets taken care of. If the answer is no, then the next question is, should all the active clients be closed with a treatment status of 07 transferred? This would indicate that the person is transferred from one facility to another, and that is acceptable even if the facility is changing just for EHR transition purposes. If the answer to that question is yes, please notify MOTS support, and we will run a query against the database that can generate a file that will close everybody with an 07 code. If the answer to that is no, then the next question is whether you want to update any data elements in addition to treatment status. This would be things like the client's employment status, their marital status, their substance use situation, participation in self-help groups, any of those other fields that might change over time. If the answer to that question is yes, please request a segment replication report from MOTS support. And that sounds complicated, but just let us know that you want to do a facility closure and change some data. We'll send you a spreadsheet that has all the changeable fields. You can make the changes that you need, send it back, and we will process it into MOTS. And then if the answer to that question is no, you can still request an active client list for MOTS support. This is a little bit easier. And then just add a treatment status code or description for each active client to show how you want them closed. Were they successful? Were they transferred? Did they drop out? Were they incarcerated? That sort of thing. Just be aware that this is the only detail that will change, but then you can send that spreadsheet back to us. We'll process it into MOTS, and all your clients will be closed. And of course, any questions about this, send us an email. We'll go from there.
Cool. Looking good. Very nice chart there, Justin. And then we get to, are there any questions? No, I'm not seeing anything. Cool. Compass News. Yeah, that's a new item we introduced since we are expanding as a team, and new apps are coming, and we're becoming more a larger environment. And we thought that maybe over time, and especially at the moment when there's not that much happening in MOTS because of the programming freeze, that we catch you up a little bit about the other systems that are part of Compass, and they are also becoming more and more related. We know that many of you who do addiction and mental health also do gambling or have relationships with acute care facilities. Licensing and certification is part of your work. So all these systems are coming up, and PGNet is up and running, and it is expanding. We are adding more and more facilities that are submitting electronically services, and manually the clients are going in. So that's good news. There's a new ACR 2.0, and it's starting tomorrow, if I'm corrected. Then the new release will actually be going live. So that's exciting news. Clicks is stable. That was the focus of the system. The old CDB was very unstable system, and it was difficult to get information out and print license and certificates and stuff like that. So our OIS team managed to get that stable and get all the information out that they want, and now they're in the process of designing the new system and making it, setting up in such a way that it can be helpful for our program people here, and very helpful be very helpful for all the organizations out there that require licensing and certification. So that's all good news. So the behavioral health data warehouse is, the contractor is Deloitte, for those of you interested, and we're doing good. We are getting pretty close to starting our first sprint. For those of you familiar with agile development, we work in sprints, which is a short set time frame in which you try to accomplish a certain number of goals that you identify, and hopefully you can achieve all those goals. So the plan is that we have that behavioral health data warehouse up and running. It was the fall, and that moved to the end of this year, but probably might be the beginning of next year, because we all know how it works around the holidays. Soon as Thanksgiving comes in sight and Christmas and everything, a lot of people take vacations and visit family and get-togethers and stuff like that. So the production of individuals drops here and there a little bit. So we usually have a tendency to move this out a little bit. So there's also still working on the MOTS replacement, because as you all know, it's a system that is almost 10 years old. Yeah, by the end of next year, it'll be 10 years. We started in 2013, and technology gets old and needs to be more up to date and more flexible, and we'd like to do that. And there's things that when we went from the old CPMS to MOTS with the same data, we made some changes, and we've learned from that. And hopefully in the new MOTS, which will come hopefully within the next couple of years, we can incorporate the things that we've learned and that we'd like to see in the future. So, but in the meantime, just keep submitting your data, because it's still ways away. So none of that yet. So, and if you have any questions, the MOTS will be there. And we like we said in the like I said in the beginning, we might make some small tweaks, because if there's federal or state requirements, then we might have to make some modifications to the system. So, and when that does, we'll definitely let you know as soon as we have that information. Okay, that was a brief overview of the Compass news. Any questions? I think they were answered. So, when switching March? No, there's no dates yet about the MOTS. So, the MOTS 2.0 or the newer MOTS, or maybe we may give it a new name. We went from CPMS to MOTS, from Client Process Monitoring System to Measures and Outcomes Tracking System. We might give it another name. Who knows?
Pete?
Sure, go ahead, Mary.
Yes, I just wanted to add to Justin's presentation on old facility closures, is that when you're sending in a spreadsheet that you want, your somebody closed for the facility, that the closures be sent separately if you were correcting, the normal 4 things that only us can change for you, like the last name at birth or the date of birth, that those be in a separate spreadsheet, and have closures on by itself, uh, separately. It just helps us make things smooth, because Cecilia and I do the corrections to like date of birth and last name at birth or client ID. Well, Justin will be doing the closures for us, and so it just makes things a little bit smoother for us.
Excellent. Thanks, Mary. Okay, and then we go to Jody, switching systems.
All right. Thanks, Pete. This is an oldie but goodie.
Yep.
It might be new for some. So as Pete mentioned, with the ever-changing landscape of just technology, and then of course with the pandemic and new ways to work, there's always, looking at different systems and changing, and maybe you're not even changing your system, but you're updating to your own systems, like a new platform. So that happens as well. So when these changes occur, one of the first things to do is to let us know. Even if you're thinking about changing and you're currently maybe submitting through client entry, or you're submitting through EDI, if you let us know early, we can kind of get you in on the, kind of on our schedule, on our radar, in our, file to follow up with at certain times. So that's number one, most important, probably communication, letting us know. The second thing is, when you're looking at the health records or the MOTS functionality of the system, so you're looking at a new system, or maybe your existing has been upgraded to a new way of working. Maybe ask what the actual process is for this functionality, because MOTS functionality has different meanings to different systems. How does this work? How does that functionality work from client entrance to your system, or somebody at your organization submitting it to MOTS? How much staff time will be required? Who's going to do which steps? There's often the misnomer that, or thought that when we go to EDI, there will be hardly any intervention with staff, and there is always still some time. Definitely streamlines it from client entry if you have a large volume of stuff, but there will still be some people involved. Also, no one way is better than another. It's just important when you're looking or making changes or upgrading even your existing system, to just understand what those differences are, so that you can do your training plans and all of that out to your staff if they need to change up what they're doing. Because we all know that the folks treating the individuals are really kind of the folks on the ground that are interacting with the clients and are garnering the bulk of our data. So we need them to know if they need to do something different. So also, project timing ties in with number one, letting us know. There's a process for switching data submissions. So if your client entry, we have a process we'll go through. It's pretty painless, but we'll go through it, let you know how that works. If you're going from one system to another, you're still going to stay EDI, but there's just a few things that we do. We don't really switch things in MOTS per se, but things we are aware of as you're changing from one to the other. The secure file transfer protocol sounds like a big, long soup of words. Basically what that is, it's a location where you're going to either drop the files, like a post office, essentially, electronic post office, where you drop your files to us, and MOTS picks them up and processes them, and in the morning MOTS gives you some mail back or your results file and lets you know what was good or what wasn't, or what might need to be changed. So for those that this is kind of the setup is really relevant to those who are maybe entering through client entry right now, and they don't have a secure file transfer protocol set up. SFTP is the acronym officially. So those are the ones that we kind of focus on getting that set up and established, and that does take some time on our side with our teams and OIS to build that on our networks. Now, if you're existingly submitting through EDI, you're going to continue to use the same one, regardless, the same location on our servers, regardless of what system you're using. So you're already EDI, or maybe you were going to be EDI a few years ago when we set this thing up, then we can, it's possibly still there and able to be used easily. Another thing that we will talk about is client ID considerations. Depending on how you bring the new system up, we may need to change those for you to match your new system. So we'll talk about that, what's best for you and your organization. And then we're going to test your files through EDI. And this is oftentimes something also that's like, well, we went with the system and they said that they submit through to MOTS all the time. And so that is true probably for a lot of those that you're looking at. But what we do is we actually test the files at your organization's level. And this is really because of the customization that can be done nowadays, which is oftentimes why we're looking at different things that fit our workflows for today. So we're going to test those files to make sure that all the special things that you may have had set up, or the mapping of different fields and bringing data from elsewhere in your system to the MOTS portion, that all of that lines up and meets our standards. So we're going to test them. We're going to go live once they go through with some flying colors. And then we're going to do some follow-up. And so the follow-up really can be as much or as little as your organization needs. And this is, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever it is that once you're live that you feel is appropriate, or we feel together to meet and just go over, what are you getting back? How are things going? It's kind of a touch base. So we've really got this down, even though, we have been talking about a MOTS 2.0 or a new MOTS replacement. There still is a lot of folks switching systems, and we're still accepting data and wanting you to submit. As Pete said, keep submitting data. And, for those of you on here, I know, anytime we talk about switching systems in general, even like MOTS 2.0 or whatnot, just to let the group know, Kayla Camilli, our new system admin, I said a couple months, so I kind of got to drop that new at some point. But Kayla Camilli will be heading up the MOTS replacement, and I will be working alongside of her. We'll be co-piloting the MOTS replacement project. So since we're all since the two of us are deeply entrenched and know how a lot of your organizations work, we will be looking to reach out and let you know when these things are coming. So we want you to let us know of change. Well, we're going to let you know of change, and we'll be getting you involved. So it won't be we won't be dropping it on you at the last minute. So just let you know, her and I will be tag teaming that, and I'm sure everybody else on our team will be a huge part of supporting this as we move forward. So I just kind of wanted to throw that in there. When we're talking about switching systems. It's like, hey, well, that kind of refers to us too. Like, we got to let folks know, and that's why we, Pete came up with adding the Compass News and some of the other things that we're doing that may or may not impact your organization. Sometimes there's some overlap in what we do. So, anyways, with that, Pete, if there's no questions, I will hand it back to you.
Thank you, Jody. Well, there was one question from Jason, and that was a very good one. Will there be a change in process in preparing and sending EDI files when switching MOTS? That's an excellent question, Jason, and the only answer I have is it could happen. That's the only thing I can say. If you are familiar with the gambling system, the new PGNet, they do have a different way of getting files to us. They have done away with the SFTP, and they are in a more similar fashion as claims are submitted to Medicaid in that format, and then you just click and drag a file to drop it in there. So, but you have to be in the system. PGNet is also different in a way that you manually have to enter your clients, the treatment episode, and then you submit the services with a file. So that's a completely different setup than what we currently have. So, because for us, if you are EDI, you submit everything through EDI. So, and I think we don't want to go to that direction, that we require manual input so kind of like taking a step back. So, but it could be a different format. Yes, it could be the more file format that is used for Medicaid. So,
and just
go
to
ahead,
add to
Jody.
that, yeah, and just to add to that, so one of the things that we're looking at is that, you know, as Pete said, everything will still be able to come through EDI as today, so status and service type things. And as well, we're looking at ways to bring in some of the new programs that are out there for any of you that are working on, like, say, mobile crisis or possibly the burn network major 110. There's different things that have been that have to have been reported outside of some of our, standard systems. And so including those is also going to be a piece of it. And so with that being said, we're looking at, there was a possibility of having multiple ways that you could send the data in electronically. And the drag and drop was one way. We, maybe keeping the SFTP. A lot of you have automation going on with your system to our system. So we're going to involve yourselves. We're going to involve your vendors, your EHR support folks. The fact that we do understand a little more of how some of the systems individually work is going to help us to tailor, we want to tailor a better solution moving forward, but hopefully with the, minimal impact that we can bring forth. So I just know that Kayla and myself and all of our team are committed to knowing how you work, knowing how your systems work, and trying to be collaborative and find the best solution for reducing that burden and also being aware of cost. So hopefully that will put some of it at a little bit of ease. I know that it still is nervous any time we talk about change. So
The only constant, Jody.
it is. It is.
And I see a question from David, if we can kind of up the batch processing from once a day to twice a day. I'm afraid that probably won't happen, David, with the current mods that we have, to be honest. But if we do decide to go in a PGNet fashion, then you can drop and drag a file anytime when you're into the system. So it kind of depends on how that happens. So and what the decisions will be made. Sorry about that. So yeah, not in the current mods, I'm pretty sure. Okay, any other questions? Anything I missed? Anything somebody picked up on? I hear crickets, so that's good. Okay, anytime you have a question, and Jody talked about it in a very good way, you can always send mods.support@dhsoha.state.or.us whenever you have any questions. And if they need to be secure, we can, you know how to do that now. So as I mentioned at the beginning, a recording of this webinar will be on our site within a few days. Also, we have the listing of the future webinars. The next one will be focused a little more on client entry, but it also has some more general and overall news, because I know many of you just attend every month and get the information that we talk about. So the next one will be June 1st, from Wednesday, June 1st from 9 to 10. Okay, thank you very much. At the bottom is our website, where you can find all kinds of information and the documents that we talked about and the link that Justin mentioned. So again, thank you all very much and have a wonderful rest of your day.